Okay, Vasu.
With a new day comes new strength and new thoughts. By the way, I wish you a very good morning, one and all present here. It's my immense pleasure to invite you all here for participating in this online webinar titled on Environmental Issues in the Modern Era, as arranged by Department of Civil Engineering, Arasu Engineering College. Now I request Mr. S. Vijay Sir, Assistant Professor, Department of Civil Engineering, to deliver welcome address.
A very pleasant morning to everyone. I am greatly delighted to welcome you all on this great, wonderful occasion. First of all, I like to welcome our Principal Sir, Dr. T. Balamurugan, then our Vice Principal Ma'am, Dr. Kalimani Shanmugam, and our Dean of Academics, Dr. Rukmangathan Sir. I like to welcome our Department HOD, T. Mogan Shankari Ma'am, our fellow staff members, and research scholars and student friends from various institutions and our own institution. Today, this webinar is going to focus on the environmental issues in the modern era. As we have invited the right and eminent personality for this great occasion, none other than our Dean of Academics, Dr. M. Rukmangathan Sir, for delivering the keynote address. This will give you a very much beneficiary to all of us. I hope that this process of exposure to the students will be very much useful for keeping our environment safe to all of us as well as for the future generation also. Once again, I welcome you all for the grand occasion. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, I request our respected HOD, Mrs. T. Moganashankari ma'am, to deliver presidential address.
Good morning to all. I am honored and humbled to give the presidential address. First of all, I like to thank our management, Principal Sir, Vice Principal Madam, and the Dean of Academics for giving me this opportunity. Today, the Department of Civil Engineering has organized a one-day webinar on environmental issues in the modern era. As you all know, the world is facing lots of environmental oriented issues nowadays. I feel this is the right time to educate the students about the importance of the environment and its adverse effect on the earth. The most challenging environment issue faced by the world is the climate change. Climate change is a broad term used to refer to changes in the earth climates at local, regional, or global scales. In recent decades, the term climate change is most often used to describe changes in the earth climate driven primarily by human activity. Since the pre industrial period, particularly the burning of fossil fuels and forest fire, resulting in a relatively rapid increase in carbon dioxide concentration in the earth atmosphere. This is in turn leads to global warming. Global warming refers to rise in adverse global temperatures, which is linked to significant impacts of humans, wildlife, and ecosystems around the world. There is strong consensus among scientists representing 97% of actively publishing climate scientists that human influence has been the dominant cause of observed warming trends since the 20th century. The concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere has risen from hovering around 280 parts per million ppm in pre industrial time to 413 ppm as early 2020. This concentration of carbon dioxide is unprecedented in recorded history. Scientists have reported that we need to return to a safe concentration of 350 ppm by 2100 in order to stabilize global warming. I assure you that this webinar will give you enough ideas about the environmental issues in the modern era, how to deal with it and how to overcome it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I request Ms. B. Saranya, ma'am, Assistant Professor, Department of Civil Engineering, to give chief guest introduction.
Very pleasant morning to one and all. It's my immense pleasure to introduce our today's resource person, Dr. M. Rukmangathan, Dean of Academics of our college. He received his bachelor degree from Government Arts College, Kumbakonam in the year 1997 and master degree from the same institution in the year 1999. In both UG and PG, he secured first class with distinction. During his PG studies, he was selected as project assistant to carry over 3-month project in radiochemistry at IGCAR Kalpakkam. He completed the project and presented his findings in the conference held in IGCAR itself. He qualified CSIR NET lectureship examination during the final year study of his master degree. He completed his doctoral degree in Bharatiyar University, Coimbatore in the year 2015. And his PhD reports were received highly commented status from all the examiners. His specialization area is physical organic chemistry. He is working in our institution since 2001. He is having 21 years of teaching experience and 11 years of research experience. He headed chemistry department of our college for about 20 years and coordinated first-year classes and staff members for more than 10 years. He served as program officers for various clubs such as NSS, YRC, and RRC. From the inception of our institution, he is coordinating university exam cell activities and being as chief superintendent for Anna University examination for about 14 semesters consequently. He has published more than 20 research papers in reputed journals and presented 15 research papers in national and international conferences and won the Best Paper Awards for about 5 times. He attended more than 35 seminars, faculty development programs, workshops, etc. He is being a peer viewer for some reputed journals and as an editorial board member for about 3 journals. He is very active in research by publishing and presenting papers in journals and conferences, sending proposals to various funding agencies such as CSIR, UGC, DST, AICTE, etc. We are all very glad and happy this morning to have you, sir. Thanks for the opportunity given to me. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I request our Honorable Chief Guest and Dean of Academics, Arasu Engineering College, Dr. M. Rukmangathan sir, to present keynote address.
Good morning to all. I would like to check whether my voice is clear. Any one of you please respond?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's very much clear.
I request Civil HOD to stop her presentation in such a way that I can start my presentation.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are stopped.
Okay. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Before going into the session, I would like to humbly thank our chairman cum founder of the college, vice chairman cum managing director, advisor sir for the constant support given to me. I also thank our respected principal, beloved vice principal, HOD and staff members of Civil Engineering Department for the kind opportunity given to me to present this webinar. Staff members and students participants from various institutions have joined this meeting through online platform. I wholeheartedly welcome all these participants. Thank you for attending this webinar. When HOD of Civil Engineering has approached me to give a webinar on any recent topic, without any hesitation, I just choose this topic, environmental issues in the modern era, because this is the most important topic which is to be dealt with very immediately. Because we are living in the modernized world. Our modern society is offering a lot of comforts and benefits to us. Of course, we are enjoying the technological development and the scientific improvements in all parts of our life. But at the same time, as per the Newton's third law, for each and every reaction, there will be an equivalent opposite reaction. In the same manner, technological development and the scientific improvement is having a serious impact on environment. Our environment is getting degraded day by day. So, in this webinar, what are all the things that we are going to see? There are so many current global environmental issues. But within this 1 hour of this webinar, we cannot discuss all the things. So in this webinar, I have chosen 8 environmental issues which are considered as the major thing. And we are going to discuss the same in this webinar. The first one is air pollution. The second, the water pollution. The third one, global warming and consequently climatic change. The fourth issue is ozone layer depletion. And the fifth environmental issue is deforestation. Then the next one, waste disposal, whether it may be of solid waste or liquid waste. Then the seventh one is more important one, plastic pollution. And the last thing which we are going to see is urban sprawl. First, let's take the air pollution. What is called air pollution? We all know very well. Air pollution is nothing but the presence of dust particle, smoke or mist in the atmospheric air, which changes the quality of the air. Consequently, it will cause adverse effects on any living organisms. Here, the living organism means not only the human beings, but also the plants, animals, and even microorganisms, bacteria, fungi, viruses, etc. We know very well, substances which are causing air pollution are called air pollutants. We can give so many examples for it. Carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, sulfur trioxide, nitrogen oxides, ozone itself is considered as the air pollutant, then heavy metals, particulate matter, simply known as SPM, suspended particulate matter, all are examples for air pollutants. The next one is air quality index. What is called the air quality index? It is an important parameter by which we can know that the ambient air is suitable for breathing or not. So air quality index is an index for reporting the quality of air daily. It tells us how clean the ambient air is. Usually, the air quality index value, AQI value, ranges from 0 to 500. If the AQI value is lying within the range of 0 to 50, it is good for breathing purpose. The quality of air is good. If the AQI value is lying within the range 51 to 100, the quality of the air is somewhat moderate. If the same value is lying within the range 101 to 150, the air will cause unhealthy conditions for sensitive group of people. Who are sensitive group of people? People, those who have suffered from severe diseases or aged people. So if the AQI value is lying within the range 101 to 150, the air is not so quality. It will cause unhealthy condition. It will cause health effects for the sensitive group of people. If the value of AQI is lying within the range 151 to 200, it will be unhealthy for all the kinds of people. If the AQI value is lying within the range 201 to 300, it will cause very serious unhealthy conditions to all the kinds of people. If the value is more than 300, 301 to 500, it will be toxic, hazardous in nature. The air is not suitable for breathing purpose at all. So in this slide, what we are going to see is simply what are all the types of air pollution. The first one, personal air exposure. This is called individual air exposure. As an individual, when I am coming to my college, I am crossing so many areas, street areas, open areas, and all those things. During my journey, I may be exposed to dust, particles, or fumes, or gases. As an individual, I am exposing to all these kinds of air pollutants. That is called personal air exposure. The second one, occupational air exposure. It is something related to the exposure of air pollutants to the individuals in his working environment. People, those who are working in industries, cement industries, they may be exposed of dust particles. People, those who are working in any other industries, they may be exposed to of the different kinds of air pollutants. So depending upon their working nature, the individual people may be exposed to different kinds of air pollution. That is called occupational air exposure. The third one is called community air exposure. This community air exposure is very serious one and a complex one. It may be occurred due to the accumulation of variety of air pollutants and the meteorological factor also deciding its community air exposure. It will cause various variety of adverse impacts on social development, economical development, and the serious health effects will arise. So that this community air exposure is very, very dangerous to us. We can give one beautiful example for community air exposure, the Bhopal gas tragedy. It was occurred during the year 1984. This Bhopal gas tragedy causes the community air pollution. Lot of people were died due to that gas tragedy. We know very well. Actually, it was happened due to uranium carbide factory exposure. The methyl isocyanide gas was released during that pollution. You know all these things. So among these three types of air pollution, the community air exposure is very, very difficult one, most dangerous one. It is somewhat difficult to monitor and control it. The next one, sources of air pollution. Air pollutants may be released by natural sources or man-made sources. What are all the natural sources that are releasing the air pollutants? During the volcanic eruptions, there may be the emission of a lot of dangerous gases. HF, hydrogen fluoride, hydrogen chloride, hydrogen sulfide, sulfur dioxide, and nitrogen oxides. All these gases are released during the volcanic eruptions. Then dust and aerosol particles that consists of salt content absorbed from the seawater. It will create the photochemical smog and some other things. Then airborne particles coming out from the soil and the vegetation. These airborne particles may float over the atmosphere and will cause serious respiratory disease to the human beings. Then in the chemical reactions and the photochemical reactions occurring in the atmosphere. Actually, atmosphere is broadly classified into three categories: the lower atmosphere, middle atmosphere, and upper atmosphere. In the lower atmosphere, ordinary chemical reactions takes place to release some air pollutants. In the upper atmosphere, which is somewhat closer to the sun, it is here photochemical reaction takes place to release air pollutants. The eighth one is discharge of nitrogen oxides. It may be of NO or NO2 or N2O, whatever may be. Actually, NOx gases are released in the atmosphere during high temperature combustion of the fuels or industrial operations. So these are all the natural sources of air pollution. The second one, the man-made sources, otherwise known as anthropogenic sources. Here, for the first one is point sources. Here we can point out, we can specify, we can identify the source from which the air pollutants are released. As far the industry is considered, we can identify the points from which the air pollutants are released. Of course, from the chimneys, the air pollutants, smoke may be coming out. So this is called the point sources. So industrial processing, power plants and fuel combustion, etc. all are considered as point sources. Then area sources, actually this pollution takes place in a particular area. On-site incineration of the solid waste disposal. When the solid waste are collected from the various points, on-site handling will be there, on-site incineration will be there. So in that particular area, air pollutable gases may be coming out. That is called on-site incineration. Then open burning. Then residential heating of coal, gas and oil. They are also considered as releasing the air pollutants. They are considered as area sources. Then the third one, mobile sources. Here the air pollutants are released by the moving vehicles, especially highway vehicles, trains, aeroplanes, jet planes, etc. This is something different, air pollution in Delhi. For each and every year, this is the most interesting topic because Delhi is struggling in the air pollution during the winter season of every year. Look at the first picture. This is India Gate picture. Here it is the India Gate is we are able to see that India Gate somewhat clearly in the first picture. But in second picture, we are unable to see the India Gate. What will be the reason for it? Now look at this slogan, smoke plus fog is called smog. What is called smoke? It is usually released from industries. During the operation of industries, through the chimneys, smoke is coming out. Smoke is generally made up of carbon particles, or the smoke may contains carbon monoxide or N2O or NOx, etc. Sulfur oxides may be there. Fog means mist, which is usually high in the winter season of Delhi. So mist will be high in the winter season of Delhi. The smoke, that is industrial smoke, that is released from the industries that is situated nearby the Delhi region, will combine with the mist to produce smog. Smog is also known as photochemical smog. This formation of a photochemical smog will be lower during the morning hours. So this, the first picture is the morning hour picture. Here we can see the India Gate somewhat clearly, but the photochemical smog will become intensified as the sun rises, and it will become very worst during the noon hours. So the second picture is taken during the afternoon hours. Here the photochemical smog, the effect of photochemical smog is very high. So we are unable to see the India Gate so clearly. So what is it meaning? The atmospheric visibility that is very much reduced here. So as I told previously, Delhi is struggling for clean air every year. So just like our various bars, Tasmak bars or some other things, Oxy bars is becoming very famous in Delhi. What they are doing in Oxy bars, oxygen bars, simply known as oxygen bars, they are offering Oxy Pure to all the people. Look at this slide. Actually, the Oxy bar is started in the city walk. During the May month of 2020, that Oxy bar was started. Here the people can breathe pure oxygen for about 15 minutes. Just like petrol bunk. From petrol bunk, we can get petrol. From diesel bunk, we can get diesel. From the Oxy bars, we can get pure oxygen. But the pure oxygen is considered as colorless and odorless gas, you know. But the shop is offering Oxy Pure in various flavors: eucalyptus, lavender, vanilla, peppermint, etc., etc. Actually, they are charging for this about 300 to 500. They are charging from the customers for 15 minutes inhalation of pure oxygen. The owner of the shop, Aryavir, is telling that this plan is working very well, like a magic, for those people who are having complaints, such as mental fatigue, headache, insomnia. What is called insomnia? Sleep disorders, and blood pressure issues and stress. Actually, inhaling pure oxygen for about 15 minutes can resolve all these issues. So the bar is nowadays receiving around 15 to 20 customers per day, but the business is growing up. So whenever the pollution in Delhi is increasing, the business of oxy bars is growing up. And the slide represents the health effects of air pollution. As I told previously, air pollutants are not only affecting the human beings, but also suffer the plants, animals, and even microorganisms, etc. But in this slide, we are concentrating the health effects of air pollution on human beings especially. You know very well, carbon monoxide is an important air pollutant. It is actually released during the incomplete combustion of carbon-containing fuel. When we are inhaling, when we are respirating this carbon monoxide, what will happen? This carbon monoxide will combine with hemoglobin present in our red blood cells of our blood, and thereby to form the carboxyhemoglobin. What is the actual function of hemoglobin? Hemoglobin is carrying oxygen to all the parts of cells and the tissues and removing the carbon dioxide from the cells and the tissues. That is the normal routine function of hemoglobin. When hemoglobin is converted into carboxyhemoglobin by carbon monoxide, the oxygen carrying capacity of the hemoglobin gets decreased. Now our blood becomes poisonous. Our body will be short of oxygen. Due to that, lot of respiratory diseases and the poisonous nature may occur. Similarly, the ozone, suspended particulate matter, these are all air pollutants. They will cause nose, throat irritation, respiratory tract irritation. So all the kinds of respiratory illness will take place. Similarly, sulfur oxides and nitrogen oxides, they will produce heart-related problems, cardiovascular diseases and lung diseases may happen. Then most of the organic compounds are considered as the volatile organic compounds. These vapors that are coming out from these VOCs are also dangerous. They are creating air pollution. In which way they are suffering the human beings? They may produce skin irritation. They cause nausea. And these volatile organic compounds are generally carcinogenic in nature. Carcinogenic means they are able to cause cancer disease. The most important air pollutant is lead, a heavy metal. This heavy metal can cause nerve damage to the human body. So with this, the air pollution is coming to an end. So out of 8 environmental issues, we have completed the air pollution. The second one is water pollution. Water pollution is merely the contamination of water bodies as a result of human activities. Water bodies include lakes, rivers, streams, oceans, etc. These are all considered as surface water bodies. Aquifer and groundwater, they are considered as a groundwater level, groundwater bodies. Aquifer means a layer of sediments that is present underground the earth, which is actually carrying the water content in it, that is called aquifer. Then underground water table, you know. So water pollution results generally when the contaminants are introduced into the natural environment. Here the natural environment means all the kinds of water bodies. What is the status, actual current scenario of water pollution? You know very well, India is a growing country. India is a developing country. As India grows and urbanizes, its water bodies are getting toxic because industrialization may lead to more amount of water pollution. Around 70% of the surface water in India is unfit for drinking purpose. Every day, 40 million liters of wastewater enter into the rivers and thereby into the oceans, but only tiny fraction of it is treated. As per the World Bank report, release of water pollutants in the upstream level of any river will have the impact on the downstream area also. The economic growth in the downstream area will get decreased and finally reducing the gross domestic product growth, GDP growth, by 1/3. As India is the developing countries, it is having middle income. Here the water pollution is the biggest problem. So it has the serious impacts on GDP growth. GDP growth has been reduced to 1.5 value of it every year. So This water pollution causes 9% reduction in agricultural revenues. Because India is the agricultural based countries, we are getting more income from agriculture. But due to water pollution, the agricultural yield gets reduced. So 90% reduction of agricultural revenue is observed every year. And 16% drop in agricultural yield. Crop yield has been decreased about 16%. The sources of water pollution. Actually, the sources of water pollution are classified into two kinds, point sources and non-point sources. What is called a point source of water pollution? Here, we can easily identify and specify the source from which the water pollutants are released. For example, from an industry, water pollutants, that is industrial effluents, may be coming out through the drainage pipe. So that drainage pipe is the source. From that one, the water pollutant is released. Since we are able to identify it, that is called point sources. So since the source is identifiable, we can easily monitor and regulate it. We can easily control the water pollution that is caused by point source. The second case is non-point source. Here it is somewhat different. Because here the water pollution is happening in the scattered manner, in the dispersed manner it is happening. Actually, the water that is coming out from the various apartment areas and treatment plants or city streets, runoff water from various parks, playgrounds and open areas. When all these water are getting mixed with the nearby water body, we cannot identify the source from which these water pollutants are released. This is called non-point source of water pollution. Since we are unable to identify the source of water pollution, it is not easy to specify, regulate, and monitor it. So we have to frame the different strategy to control the water pollution that is caused by non-point sources. Here we can feel the difference between non-point sources and the point sources. This one is called the point sources of water pollution, sewage treatment plants. So from the drainage pipe, water pollutants are released. From the factories and disposal sites, from the drainage pipe, water pollutants are getting mixed with the nearby water bodies, oil tankers also, animal feedlots, etc. But here, residential and street runoff, open areas runoff, all these things are getting mixed with the water bodies. Here we cannot identify the source from which the water pollutants are coming out. This one is called non-point sources. These are all called point sources. Water pollution monitoring by machine learning technology. Nowadays, for each and everything, machine learning is the most popular software that is being used for each and every developmental processes. Here also, water pollution or water quality parameters can be monitored by using machine learning technology. Here, the permissible level of water quality parameters. What are water quality parameters? There are some physical parameters and chemical parameters. These water quality parameters, what are all water quality parameters? These are all the things: pH, TDS, EC, resistivity, dissolved oxygen, BOD, COD, all these things. So the permissible level of water quality parameters are, we can see from the literature value. Those values are fed into the Thorough server of machine learning software. Now, the sensor is taken, that the sensor mounted boat is allowed to sail in the water, that is in the water body. That water body, for that water body, we are going to decide the water quality parameters. So if you want to determine the water quality parameter of a particular pond, we have to float the sensor mounted boat on that water body. Now, since the reference values are already present in the Thorough server, now this sensor will measure the water quality parameters of that particular aquatic ecosystems. And we can, by comparing that one, the reference value and the actual value, we can decide the water quality parameters of that particular pond water. But there are some water quality parameters which are only to be determined in the laboratory. These are all the things. These values cannot be obtained from the machine learning software. this BOD, COD, E. coli, total solids, etc. Because, for example, BOD and the COD determination, we have to carry out the experimental parts for about 2 or 3 days, we know. So these parameters are to be determined only in the laboratory. That is the main case. So the second issue, water pollution, is coming to an end. For each and everything, I am just giving the introduction part and some ideas about it. That's all. The third one, global warming and climatic change. Actually, global warming is primarily caused by the greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, and the sulfur dioxide. All these are examples for greenhouse gases, you know. What is called the greenhouse effect? Look at this picture. Sun emits the radiation, solar radiation. The solar radiation passes through the atmosphere easily, and it is finally received by the Earth's surface. The solar radiation is absorbed by the Earth's surface. Now, after the absorption of solar radiation by the Earth's surface, the radiation is re-emitted from the Earth's surface in the form of infrared radiation, IR radiation. But IR radiation cannot escape into the atmosphere easily as solar radiation can enter. And this is because that the IR radiation is captured by, trapped by some greenhouse gases that are already released in the atmosphere by human being activities. Due to the absorption of IR radiation by the greenhouse gases, what is happening? Now, the greenhouse gases like CO2 and N2O, they will undergo molecular vibrations due to the absorption of IR radiation. Due to that molecular vibrations, some extra heat is produced. That extra heat will be residing in near the atmospheric surface, near the Earth's surface. So, near the Earth's surface, the temperature is getting increased. That is called global warming. So global warming is mainly caused by greenhouse gases. What would be the difference between global warming and the climatic change? Actually, climatic change is the biggest problem. It is the major problem. Global warming is one of the symptoms of it. That's all. Global warming is nothing but the rising of Earth's surface temperature. The climatic change includes all the effects of global warming. The side effects of global warming, like melting glacier ice in Arctic and Antarctic regions, heavier rainstorms and the floods, and the frequent droughts due to the global warming. All these effects are coming under climatic change, but the climatic change is the biggest major problem. Global warming is one of the symptoms of it. That's all. So here, Earth's surface temperature is getting increased. The doctor is putting the thermometer in the Earth's surface. The symptom is global warming. So surface temperature is getting increased. This is just for fun, I am putting this picture, but it is understandable one. The phrase climate change is used to describe the change in climate. The change in climate can be measured in terms of various statistical properties, but one of the most important property is global average surface temperature. The climate change may occur for the period of time ranging from months to thousands of years or millions of years. During the origin of our world, for about thousands of years, only ice cubes are present in the world. For about next thousands of years, sun is shining, summer conditions prevailing. All these things we have studied. So the classical time period for the climatic change is 30 years. So the climatic change is mainly caused by global warming, you know, the emissions of carbon dioxide coming out from vehicles, factories, and power stations. But the climate change not only affects the atmosphere and the sea, but also alter the geological conditions of the earth. Every year, the global temperature is getting increased by 2 to 6 degrees Celsius. Averagely, for about 1.7 degrees Celsius, the global temperature is getting increased, but within 2100, we are expecting that the global temperature may increase about 2 to 6 degrees Celsius. 6 degrees Celsius rise per year in the average Earth surface temperature will cause serious effects. What would be the effects of global warming? Due to the global warming, reduction in agricultural yield will take place because due to global warming, seasonal changes may happen. During the rainy season, rain will not come, droughts may occur. During the summer season, more rain will come, floods may occur. So these seasonal changes may occur. Due to the seasonal changes, frequent droughts and the floods, the agricultural crop yield will become decreased. This is because of land becomes less productive. They are losing their soil fertility, and hence this will become the serious impacts. Due to the rise in Earth surface temperature, the glaciers ice present in the Arctic and Antarctic region, especially in Earth polar region, will become meltable. And hence, 20 centimeter rise in the sea level water is expected within 2030 year. So the rise in 20 centimeter rise of sea level water is somewhat biggest problem one. So during the rainy season and the summer season, droughts and the floods becomes more prevalent due to the global warming. So we have to find out different strategy for managing the water resources. So water resource management becomes very difficult. Global warming is also causing serious effects on human health because flood is one of the effects of global warming. Drought is one of the effect of global warming, you know. So under flooded situation, waterborne diseases becomes more prevalent. The human will be suffered by waterborne diseases. Then some heat related diseases may also happen in human beings. This one is a glaciers ice melt present in the Arctic and Antarctic region. So seawater is expected to rise. The level of seawater is expected to rise in the polar regions especially. The IPCC, Intergovernmental Policy on Climate Change, which was framed during the year 2001 and revised during the year 2007. It has organized many of the risks related to global warming and climatic change into 5 reasons for concern. That means this IPCC has consolidated all the effects of global warming and climate change into 5 reasons for concern. What are all the 5 reasons for concern? The first one, threats to endangered species. Endangered species means species whose population is facing acute decline, whose population is tremendously reduced by human being activities, especially due to environmental degradation. So threats to endangered species may happen. This is the main reason, first one, effects. The second one, damages from extreme climatic change events. Due to the climatic change, our environment is getting damaged. Those damages are to be consolidated. This is the second reason for concern. The third one, global warming and climatic change is not only the problem for India, it is the global problem. So in developing countries especially, the effects of global warming and climate change will be the more intensified. So within the developed countries, due to the drought condition and the flood condition, agricultural yield is getting decreased. Due to the reduction in agricultural yield, the country will become poor. The country will fall under the poverty line. So these are all these issues are to be addressed. So this is the third reason for concern. The fourth one, as I told previously, all the issues related to environments are to be dealt by worldwide nations. It is not a problem of single country. So all the global countries will form unique manner. They have to release the policies generally. So global aggregate impacts. What will be the impacts? Social impact, economic growth will be suffered, and the ecological impacts. Environment is getting degraded. Ecological impacts may happen. So these reasons for concern have to be consolidated. The last one, large scale high impact events. Due to global warming, forest fires may take place. Due to the forest fire, biodiversity loss may happen. Biodiversity means variety of plants and animal species may be lost. So this will cause serious impacts on the global level. So these issues is to be addressed. The fourth environmental issue is ozone layer depletion. Regarding ozone layer depletion, we are knowing much more information. Actually, this is atmospheric schematic diagram. Atmosphere is having 5 layers on it. Troposphere, the bottom layer, then stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, and finally the open area, exosphere. This stratosphere is main thing. Actually, ozone, it is a gas, it is found through the atmosphere, but its concentration is high in the second layer, stratosphere. The concentration of ozone is high in the stratosphere when compared to other layers. Since the concentration of ozone is high in this layer, it is present in the form of layer that is called ozone layer. Ozone layer is very, very important for human beings because ozone layer is acting as the filtering medium. From the sun, there may be the emission of dangerous ultraviolet radiation. If the ultraviolet radiation is reaching the Earth's surface directly, the human beings will be suffered by skin cancer. Just a minute. So this UVB radiation not only suffering the human beings, it will also suffer the plants and the animals. If ozone layer is not present in the atmosphere, human beings will be severely suffered. So this is the importance of ozone layer. But nowadays, the thickness of the ozone layer is getting decreased day by day. Due to the man-made activities, human being activities, the thickness of the ozone layer that is present in the stratosphere is becoming thinner and thinner. So in certain regions, above the polar regions, the thickness of the ozone layer becomes decreased very much and the ozone holes are developed. If ozone holes are developed, our ultraviolet radiation coming out from the sun will directly reach the Earth's surface. People, those who are living under the ozone hole, will be suffered by skin cancer especially. Okay, sir, how ozone holes are developed? How the ozone layer is getting depleted? Why the thickness of the ozone layer is becoming thinner and thinner? There are mainly 2 reasons for it. The emission of chlorofluorocarbons in the atmosphere. CFCs. Usually the CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons, are emitted from the refrigerant gas. In our fridge and air conditioners, we are using freon gas. From the freon gas, chlorofluorocarbons is coming out. And another one, halon gases, organohalogen compounds. Organohalogen compounds are generally used in firefighting purposes. Fire extinguishers, they are used. These organohalogen compounds are also the reason for ozone layer depletion. Actually, these CFCs and halons will react with the ozone layer that is present in the stratosphere and decompose it into atmospheric oxygen and atomic oxygen. So ozone is getting decomposed and hence ozone holes are developed. Finally, that ozone present in the ozone hole will get reduced capacity of ultraviolet radiation absorption. Now, through the ozone holes, ultraviolet radiation, especially UVB radiation, will directly reach the Earth's surface and thereby causing health problem like skin cancer and eye damage, cataract in the human beings. Effects of ozone layer. This point we have already discussed on human beings. Ozone layer depletion increases the amount of UVB radiation reaching the Earth's surface. So UVB radiation causes non-melanoma skin cancer. Due to the UVB radiation, one strategy is there, one statistical report is there. Fairly skinned people whose skin is having less amount of melanoma. So fairly skinned people will be suffered by the skin cancer due to UVB radiation. In addition, the UVB radiation will develop the cataracts, the clouding of eye lens in human beings. The second one, effects of ozone layer depletion on plants. Generally, UVB radiation absorption will decrease the agricultural crop yield because the physiological and the developmental process of plants gets decreased. So crop yield gets decreased. The third one, marine ecosystem. This is most important one. Phytoplankton, which is the major producer of food in the marine ecosystem. Okay, in marine ecosystem, phytoplanktons, otherwise known as algae matter, is the primary producer of food. But these primary producers are present in the top layer of the water column, because in the top layer only the sufficient amount of sunlight will be abundant. So here the primary productivity becomes high, but due to the ozone layer depletion, so UVB radiation will reach the aquatic ecosystem, marine ecosystem. When the phytoplanktons are absorbing the UVB radiation, there will be the question mark for the survival of phytoplanktons. So phytoplanktons will get degraded. They get completely disappeared in the marine ecosystem. So absorption of UVB radiation will decrease the growth of phytoplanktons. So the primary production of food in the marine ecosystem is getting suffered, and hence the entire food chain becomes degraded. The fourth one, effects of ozone layer on materials. Synthetic polymers, especially and also naturally occurring biopolymers will get severely suffered. But nowadays, some additives like, just a minute, some additives like carbon black and titanium oxide are added to the polymers. When these additives are added, the UVB absorption capacity of that polymer becomes decreased, and it will escape from the effect of ozone layer depletion. So in order to save the polymers from the ultraviolet radiation absorption, some additives are added. This picture is clearly showing that this one is ozone hole that is present above the Antarctic region. During the year of 2018, the diameter of the ozone hole is somewhat high, 7.7 million square miles. But in next year, 2015, because now people are getting more aware, they are not at all using the chlorofluorocarbons and halons. They are buying only eco-friendly refrigerators and air conditioners. So due to that preventive measures, the ozone hole is getting shrunken up. The diameter of the ozone hole during the year 2019 in the same region was decreased about 1.9 million square miles. In 2020, the diameter might have reduced so much, because during the COVID-19 complete lockdown period for about 48 days, all the environmental degradation is getting reversed. Environment is getting replenished in nature. So the ozone hole might have shrunken up further. How we can avoid the situation of ozone layer depletion? We have to avoid the usage of most dangerous gases which are ozone layer depleting. The usage of chlorofluorocarbons and halons and methyl bromide and finally nitrous oxide is to be reduced. For better transportation in urban areas, bicycle or walking style may be used. For cleaning purpose, we are frequently using the solvents. Those solvents, some solvents may be of ozone layer depletable one. So the usage of some solvents, such solvents must be reduced. So the dangerous substances should be replaced by non-toxic products such as vinegar and bicarbonate. People, please try to buy the local products as far as possible. By doing so, we can get the fresh food. We can avoid the traveled food, because more distance traveled, the more amount of nitrous oxide will be there. Because nitrous oxide may be used for the transportation purpose, it may be added as preservative. So this substance, nitrous oxide, is one of the component of producing or causing ozone layer depletion. And finally, maintaining air conditioners. The malfunctions of air conditioner may cause the release of CFC to escape into the atmosphere. So if we are maintaining the air conditioners properly, we are contributing little bits for preventing the ozone layer depletion. The fifth issue is deforestation. Simply speaking, what is called deforestation? A reduction of forest area, cutting down of forest trees. Why we are cutting down the forest trees? For agricultural purpose, for urbanization. Urbanization means development, industrialization. The new construction of residential areas, then developmental activities such as mining and big dam constructions. For these purposes, we are reducing the forest areas. Deforestation in current scenario. Deforestation nowadays occur in the alarming rates. That means deforestation is happening in more dangerous condition. Since 1990, that means in the past 3 decades, about 420 million hectares of forest area have been cleared up for the agricultural and other activities. However, between 2015 to 2020, within the last 5 years, the rate of deforestation was estimated at 10 million hectares per year. Initially, it was about 16 million hectares per year, but in the last 5 years, due to the awareness received by the people, the deforestation rate has been reduced appreciably from 16 million hectares per year to 10 million hectares per year. Since 1990, during the last 30 years, about 80 million hectares of the land, forest area, has been disappeared by deforestation activities. What would be the harmful effects of deforestation? During the deforestation, forest trees are getting cleared up, so the plant and animal species that are present in the forest areas get disappeared. They lost their habitats. The second one, tribal people living in that forest area may lose their life security. They may lose their employmental opportunities, etc. The third one, if deforestation is done only for the food products, in near future, there may be the possibility of food insecurity. And the fourth one, soil erosion. Forest trees are very, very essential because the roots of the forest trees are binding the soil particles very tightly. They conserve the soil from the soil erosion. If the forest trees are getting cleared up, the soil becomes loose. During the rainy season, soil becomes eroded. And the final one is climate changes. We know very well, climate changes definitely will happen due to deforestation. Let us see now. Deforestation in Amazon rainforest. Usually, the rainforest canopies, you know very well, they will absorb carbon dioxide for their photosynthetic purposes, photosynthetic activity. When the rainforests are absorbing the carbon dioxide, the amount of carbon dioxide present in the atmosphere get decreased and the global warming will be reduced to the appreciable extent. Think in the opposite manner. If the forest trees are getting cleared up, carbon dioxide emission will become increased in the atmosphere. The amount of carbon dioxide get increased in the atmosphere, and hence greenhouse effect will come into play. Global warming takes place. So enhanced greenhouse effect will lead to climate changes, The second one, loss of biodiversity. About 137 plant, animal and insect species are lost every day in Amazon rainforest due to deforestation. In Amazon rainforest, about 30 to 45% of the species will become disappeared by the year 2030 if deforestation is going on like this, as in the current situation. How we can get rid of the effects of deforestation? As I told previously, all the countries will come to forward to reduce the global issues. So they can make collaborations for reducing the deforestation activities. The second one is policy making, zero deforestation. What is called zero deforestation? Each and every company is present in all the countries should release one policy that they should not cut down the trees for the release of their products. Okay, that is called zero deforestation. For their commercial activities, they should not undergo for deforestation in such a way that they have to release a policy that is called zero deforestation. The third one, stand with indigenous people. There may be some environmental activists. Those environmentalists may conduct some awareness programs. They may conduct some rally. They may conduct some debates on environmental related issues. For that kind of people, government should stand along with them. They should give some support to those people. Then promoting sustainable forestry. What is the essence of sustainable forestry? What is called sustainable forestry? All those things should be addressed. Then fifth one, change policies. Look at this graph. In this graph, for about 10 years, the deforestation activities have been reduced in the Brazilian Amazon forest. So we have to change the policies. Whenever there is the deforestation rate is high, policy making will be different. Whenever the deforestation rate is getting declined, we can change the policies. So according to our need, we can change the policies. Countries can change their policies in such a way that they can minimize the deforestation. The sixth environmental issue is solid waste disposal. And this is another important issue. What is called solid waste? Any material that is thrown away as useless, that is called solid waste. Of course, solid waste may be generated from various sources. Based on their origin, solid waste are generally classified as domestic solid waste, industrial waste, commercial waste, institutional waste, constructional waste, etc. Based on their contents present in the solid waste, there are so many examples of solid waste: glass, metal, plastic, paper, organic material, etc. Depending upon their hazardous potential, solid waste are classified into toxic, non-toxic, flammable, non-inflammable, radioactive, and infectious, etc. Generally, solid waste disposal management system involves the collection of solid waste from the points of origin and treating the solid waste very successfully. So, solid waste disposal management include the collection of solid waste and the treatment of solid waste. But nowadays, most of the solid waste are converted into valuable sources. Recycling is done. Look at this picture. This picture is actually captured in North India, Delhi region. Here, all the solid waste are being dumped. Actually, this site, open site, this is present in Aquifer landfill site. This one is dumping of all the solid waste in a single mountain. Actually, this is solid waste mountain. This one is solid waste mountain. So dumping of all the kinds of solid waste in a single mountain will cause some serious problem. On fine morning, one day morning, the mountain gets collapsed due to the gravitational force. Due to the collapse, that the solid waste get mixed with the canal, which is supplying drinking water to the Delhi. And many more people were killed due to this accident. And hence, Delhi Lieutenant Governor Anil Bajal banned the dumping of solid waste in the Aquifer landfill site from that morning onwards. Due to the collapse of mountain of waste, he released that decision. Solid waste, as I told previously, they are classified into non-hazardous waste, then hazardous waste. Non-hazardous waste means municipal solid waste, industrial waste, and agricultural waste. Hazardous waste means some household waste, some industrial waste. This you know very well. Solid waste disposal management system generally involve these processes. Flow sheet. Collection of solid waste from various sources, points of generation. While collecting the solid waste, there may be some on-site handling. On-site handling means some solid waste can be disposed of in their site itself. Then the remaining solid waste can be stored, then finally processed. Processed means segregation. Segregation of solid waste. After the segregation, the collected solid waste is to be transported for the disposal site. Before disposing, such a kind of solid waste can be recycled for useful purposes. The remaining solid waste is disposed of in suitable methods. There are three disposal methods, you know very well. Sanitary landfill method, the second one incineration method, and the third one composting method. This is the picture which is describing the sanitary landfill method. Here what actually they are doing, all the solid refuses, solid waste are collected from the various points. After on-site handling, the solid waste collected, they are transported to the disposal site. Here, the disposal site is nothing but the low-lying land that is situated away from the city limits. In the soil, first of all, before spreading the solid waste, there will be the liner. They will spread over the liner. For what purpose this liner is made? To prevent the direct contact between the underground water and the solid waste. If liner is not present, the solid waste may get percolate into the underground water, and underground water may get contaminated. To control, to prevent this water pollution, liner is spread over in the earth soil. Then all the solid waste are being dumped periodically with suitable gap intervals. Within the gap, some earth soil may also be placed. Due to the decomposition of the solid waste, some poisonous gases may be coming out. They may be released. Those gases are released through the vents. They get treated. Then Lageté solution that is formed, that will be collected by separate collecting system. What is Lageté solution? Here, when the rain is coming, the rainwater may get percolated through the solid waste. Solid waste already it is giving contaminated rainwater. That the contaminated rainwater should not percolate, should not get mixed with the underground water level. That's why they are placing this liner here. That Lageté collection, that Lageté water, contaminated water will be collected separately. The second one, incineration method. After collecting the solid waste are segregated into combustible and non-combustible. Combustible solid waste are introduced into the large sized incinerator. Here, the incinerator can incinerate about 4 tons of solid waste per day. Only the left out thing is ash. In addition, the heat is produced due to the combustion of solid waste here. That the heat may produce the steam. That the steam may be allowed to rotate the turbine wheel for producing electricity. So this is the main advantage of incineration method. Of course, there may be the emission of some smoke from the incinerator. It may cause some air pollution. That is another thing. But power production, electricity production is the main advantage here. The last method is composting. Here, all the solid waste that is collected from the various sites, for example, garden trimmings, kitchen scraps, grass clippings, food scraps and leaves. All these waste are compostable. They are easily biodegradable. So these wastes are placed in large earthen trenches. Some microorganisms are introduced into the earthen trenches. Now fermentation takes place. All the solid waste, compostable solid waste are getting converted into compost, a biomass. It is having fertilizing value. It can be used for agricultural field. This is one of the best suitable method for solid waste disposal. In solid waste disposal, actually 4R approach is done. What is 4R? For what purpose it stands for? Reduction of solid waste. So for each and every chemical process, for each and every industrial process, there should be the formation of minimized solid waste. So in such a way that we have to invent the process. Then, if the solid waste are getting generated as far as possible, we have to reuse the solid waste, if possible. Then, the recovery from the solid waste, we can recover some useful products by segregation or some other things. And finally, we can go for recycling process. In order to obtain some useful products from it, we can go for recycling it. So, reduction, reuse, recovery, and recycling. This is called 4R approach. The seventh issue, plastic pollution. What is called plastic pollution? It is nothing but the accumulation of plastic objects and the particles in the earth environment, especially in ocean environment. Due to the plastic pollution, actually we are living in the plastic age. For each and every purpose in this modernized world, we are using the plastic vessels, plastic utensils, plastic objects. All these plastic objects, since they are non-biodegradable, they get mixed with the soil of the earth environment, or they may get mixed with the ocean environment. So plastics are generally categorized into 3 kinds: micro, meso, and macro debris. It is generally based on size. What is the statistical report here? 8.8 million tons of plastic waste enter into the oceans due to the coastal communities every year. So the ocean, the marine organisms, especially the living organisms in the marine animals, they can be harmed by the mechanical effects such as entanglement of plastic materials. Most of the animals are getting ingested plastic material, plastic waste in their body. So this is the serious issues. So plastic pollution is considered as the serious issues because in marine environments, there is huge amount of plastic waste only. So for human beings, it also causes some hormonal imbalance. It may cause reproductive failure in the human beings. As of 2018, 380 million tons of plastic waste is produced. From 1950s to 2018, only 6.3, so about 6.3 billion tons of plastics has been produced worldwide. For about the 68 years, about 6.3 billion tons of plastics have been produced worldwide. But only 9% of the plastic, only 9% of 6.3 billion tons have been recycled successfully. 12% of the plastic waste have been incinerated. The remaining about 80% of 6.3 billion tons of plastics enter into the earth environment, especially in the ocean environment. So 90% of the seabirds contains plastic debris in their bodies. So this is considered as the most important and challenging issue for the modern era people. And this is plastic mountain. This one is the entanglement of sea animals and the sea birds in the by the plastic objects. So this plastic pollution nowadays is the serious environmental issue. Hereafter, we are going to see some innovative ideas that are being adopted by normal citizens to avoid plastic pollution. These are all the small ideas given by some normal citizens. In Chhattisgarh, there is one cafe called Garbage Cafe. Here, customers can get their food by giving plastic waste. By exchanging their plastic bottles, they can get their food. In such a way that by doing so, we can contribute a little bit for reducing the plastic pollution. He is Professor Sadish Kumar of Mechanical Engineering. He is living in Hyderabad. He prepared the petrol from plastic waste. By 3 steps, plastic pyrolysis process, he prepared the plastic petrol. He is actually selling the same for rupees 40 per liter. He has registered his company under Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises scheme. Eco-bricks, plastic bottles, they are making very hard by ingesting some solid waste or some papers in it. These eco-bricks can be used for construction purpose. This one is the village bank that is situated in Indonesia. Here, they are giving cash for trash. Here, the people can exchange their trash for cash. So this village bank itself in Indonesia is doing some contribution, is giving some contribution for reducing the plastic pollution. This is the homestay that is created by a normal citizen in Uttar Pradesh. This homestay, even though it seems to be very tiny and a simple one, it was created by that citizen by using plastic debris. And this is another supermarket in Thailand. Here they are using banana leaves for roasting the vegetables. But in our country, even though there is a ban for plastics and carry bags, but most of the shops, they are giving plastic bags and carry bags for vegetables and other groceries. So this is the welcoming step done by the supermarket in Thailand. This is the life cycle boat, which was actually made from 10 tons of recycled plastic. This boat is made up of recycled plastic. On January 24th, 2020, the boat was sailed. It was reached about 500 kilometers across the Indian Ocean, starting from Lamu to Stone Town in Zanzibar. The 8th one, the last environmental issue which we are going to see is urban sprawl. Urban sprawl is one of the major problems nowadays. What is called urban sprawl? In olden days, there will be a definite boundary between cities and villages. But nowadays, the boundary lines are getting disappeared. What does it mean? The city area are getting expanded into villages also. This is called urban sprawl. Why actually urban sprawl takes place? Most of the village people are thinking that in urban areas, in city areas, we can get much more facilities. That's why the village people are getting migrated to city areas for getting better education, employmental opportunity, medical facilities, and some other things. But in village areas, they forgot that we are having good quality of air, non-pollutable water. But by forgetting this one, village people are getting migrated towards the urban area for giving better education and medical facilities. They are thinking like that. But since urban area is of having limited space, it cannot accommodate all more amount of population in this limited area, in their limited area. So they are expanding their residential sites, they are expanding their industrial facilities, they are expanding their hospitals into village area also. That means the villages are getting converted into, they are submerged with urban areas. This is called urban sprawl. Simply speaking, expansion of urban areas into villages, that is called urban sprawl. Due to the urban sprawl, what will happen? For expanding the residential area and the commercial sectors into the villages, they will uptake the lands. Most of the agricultural land will be converted into residential area, and hence agricultural crop yield gets decreased. Some forest area may also be getting cleared up for creating the new residential areas, for creating the plots, and hence habitat of some endangered species. Endangered species we know very well. The species whose population is nowadays is becoming very less. If these species are not conserved, they will become disappeared completely from the world. So the habitat of endangered species becomes decreased, and fertility of the soil becomes lost. So finally, it will result in loss in agricultural crop yield, reduction in agricultural crop yield. This one is indirect impacts on adjacent areas. So runoff water may get mixed with the adjacent area and may produce a flood-like situation. Forest fire may take place. Due to the expansion of urban areas into villages areas, noise pollution and light pollution may happen. Land fragmentation may occur. And this one is synergistic effects or other environmental issues. Water consumption becomes lowered, energy consumption becomes high, production of residuals, and procurement of more and more infrastructure is needed in developed urban areas. This will become major issue. So impacts of urban sprawl, you know very well. Urban sprawl may seriously affect the economical growth of a country, definitely, because increase the infrastructure cost. So we have to improve the infrastructure. So we have to invest more and more for building and some other purpose. So here, each and everything for construction of buildings becomes more expensive. This will affect the economical growth of a country. Citizens are to be paid with more amount of tax. This will bad for the people, but good for the government. So the effects of urban sprawl. Due to urban sprawl, air pollution becomes increased. Water pollution becomes increased. There will be the demand for water consumption. More amount of water will be required for luxurious facilities. Traffic congestions will become more and more because the urban areas is getting expanded into some other adjacent areas for transportation facilities. So we have to ride the two-wheelers and the four-wheelers. So traffic congestions will result. Human health will get suffered. Due to urban sprawl, there is another issue, loss of open grounds, farmland and the wildlife habitats. All these things get disappeared. There may be the damage from floods, especially during the December 2015. Chennai faced major flood, during the flood-like situation, the outer areas, that is urban sprawl area of Tambaram and Midichur, have been suffered very much, because all these areas are low-lying land. They are newly formatted areas. So old Chennai, old Madras was not suffered, but new Madras was getting suffered much more. We know that factor. So due to the low-lying land, flooded, occupied very much amount in those areas. Then due to urban sprawl, social fragmentation may happen. Some transportation cost may get increased. Energy consumption becomes high. Electrical energy will be consumed much more. What are the alternatives to urban sprawl? This is main thing. Smart growth and new urbanism. What is called a smart growth? We have to prevent the entry of village people into town area, because the village people are getting migrated for getting better employment, better education, improved medical facilities. For those purpose only they are entering into the urban areas. If we are providing all these facilities in the village area itself, they cannot migrate. Okay, sir. However, the village people get migrated into the urban areas, but the limited space of urban area is getting struggled to accommodate all those people. So for that, smart growth is needed. What is called smart growth? Construction of residential buildings along with commercial sectors and the employment offices itself. Okay, in a single apartment, we can have residential areas, offices, workshops, as well as commercial sectors. So this will avoid the transportation of people to newer areas, and hence smart growth can be achieved. We can find the alternate for the urban sprawl. So smart growth is the key factor for avoiding the urban sprawl. The new urbanism, what is called a new urbanism? New urbanism is the strategy of pedestrian-friendly, environmental-friendly approach for urban sprawl. Then the second one, transit villages. Transit villages, they are mainly served by mass transit networks. All the residential and the commercial areas are built up around the villages by using mass transit networks. Some collective of people may go to the urban areas, they can purchase the things, they can give to the village people. Not all the people from each and every homes need not to go to the town areas. Only that due to the mass transit networks, some people may go to the town areas, they can purchase the things, they can redistribute the same thing to the village people. Here, mass transit is achieved by the streetcars powered by electricity for the transportation of the people within the urban areas, not by petrol-driven or diesel-driven vehicles. Then third one, eco-villages. Eco-villages is another important concept for preventing the urban sprawl. In world, there are only about 420 eco-villages are there. Eco-villages, that means here what we can do, we can go for selecting the proper site in the urban area itself. In the urban area itself, we can go for selecting the proper site. Then we can go for we have to pay some legal amount to the government for getting approval to establish the eco villages. Then we have to create the village-like situation in that selected area. We can create the farmland. We can create agricultural crop, etc. In doing so, in eco villages, mainly ecological sustainability can be achieved. Not only ecological sustainability, social development will be there, economical development will be there, and ecological sustainability can be achieved. Eco villages means maintaining the village-like situation in urban areas in the selected sites. Okay, village-like situation is there. We can get pure water, we can get pure air, and some other things. We can get the pure food that is grown from the nearby farms. Okay, without adulteration, we can get the pure food. So this is called eco villages. Worldwide, about only 420 villages are there, eco villages. So these are all the things that we have discussed in this webinar. Actually, we came across the air pollution, then water pollution, And just a minute. The third one, global warming and climatic change, we discussed. Then ozone layer depletion, deforestation, waste disposal, plastic pollution, and finally urban sprawl. We have completed how our approaches would be to face the environmental issues. As we the people, we are living in the modern era, how we can approach, how we can innovate the ideas to face the environmental issues. Always replace the disposable items with reusable items. Okay, don't discard any material as waste. Try to reuse and reuse. Otherwise, recycle some useful products from those waste materials. By doing so, we are conserving our natural resources. Pass on paper. Avoid the usage of paper as far as possible. In this modern world, there is no need of using the paper for each and everything. In this digital world, we can minimize the usage of paper as far as possible. Then try to minimize the usage of water and electricity, because water scarcity will be the major problem in this 21st century. So try to minimize the quantity of water and electricity. Please give the 100% support for eco-friendly practices and eco-friendly products. And we are all educated people, so we can create awareness among the village people and uneducated people regarding the environmental issues. We can go for conducting some dramas, or we can create some awareness films to the villagers in such a way that environmental issues can be faced in the successful manner. So with these ideas, I am concluding my webinar. If you are having any queries, you can ask me.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Very good morning to all of you. And thank you, sir, for your nicely elaborated presentation. It was really nice, because whenever we listen some online webinar, we feel bored. But your presentation was so informative and important to us that it was really interesting. And you have already mentioned that the pollution and this kind of topic is not restricted to any particular department or particular sector, because this is a global problem, and this is for everyone. It means from a researcher to from a industrial person, from engineering, everyone, for each and everyone, it is very needed. And for that, your presentation, it is thank you. I just want to share something that you have mentioned. One thing that people are giving petrol, means they are instead of plastic or garbage. I just seen one example also. I want to add one thing that in one school of Assam, that I have seen that they are instead of school fees, tuition fees, they are taking.
Yes, sir.
It was very nice. Yeah. And another thing I just tell that actually we are telling that we are saying that it is bad, it is good, we should do it. But in practical, it is saying that whatever we are telling, it is not up to that level. Means, and in it very clear, very easy to say. Means government also applying some rule, but it is after some certain days or certain days, it is becoming very worse. Means, and when we are talking about one-time plastic. Plastic, we are saying it is we should not use it, but it is seeing that instead of this plastic, also there are so many plastic they are in the shop or in the everywhere. Okay. So and another thing, when we are taking this type of talking about this type of plastic, I should think that we should think that first of all, government should ban this kind of plastic manufacturing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Instead of for using, if we tell someone don't use it, so better to stop this kind of production of this kind of thing. I think this one it should be must first for the government and for all of us, because whenever we are very much habituated with this kind of plastic, and we are using this kind of plastic very easily, means so many times it is lightweight and some many other benefit also we are using. So these are from my side. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Sir, I have come across the same thing that you have mentioned in Assam. One school is there. They are getting the plastic waste material as the fees. I have come
Yes,
across,
yes.
sir.
Yes.
Okay,
Actually, I
thank
am
you for
from
your information.
Nadi Assam, a research
Okay,
scholar of
okay,
this
okay.
institute.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
I got to
Okay,
know
sir.
this one.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Participants, if anybody having any queries, you can ask with the Dean sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving us this effective and informative presentation. Finally, I request Mr. R. Veeravil, sir, Assistant Professor, Department of Civil Engineering, to deliver vote of thanks.
Good morning, everyone. I am here to present the vote of thanks for today's webinar. First of all, I would like to thank our management for permitting us to organize this event. I would like to thank our webinar resource person, our Dean Academics, respected Dr. M. Rukmangathan, sir, for accepting our request and delivered such a wonderful speech. Thank you, sir. Today's webinar was full of knowledge and interesting things. It gave deep insights into the topic and also revealed some interesting facts. I would like to thank our principal, respected Dr. T. Balamurugan, sir, for giving support to organize this webinar session. Thank you, sir. I would like to thank our vice principal, respected Dr. Kalimani Shanmugam, ma'am, for giving support to organize this webinar session. Thank you, ma'am. I would like to thank our head of the department, respected Mr. T. Moganashankari, ma'am, for guiding us in all aspects. Thank you, ma'am. I would like to thank faculty members and a technical assistant for their cooperations to make this event as the great success. I would like to thank all the head and staff members for various departments. I would like to thank all the participants from various institutions and organizations here paying your attention and learning. Once again, I thank you one and all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you one and all for your kind attention. The feedback link posted in this chat box. You can get the link and submit your valuable feedbacks. Thank you, everyone.